Ellen Robinson, thank you so much for having us here today. So let's start with the battle itself. What was the Battle of Leopold Canal?
So the Battle of Leopold Canal was really the point of the tip of the spear of what was later in a greater campaign called the Battle for the Scheldt, which was really all about the Allies pushing through Belgium and the Netherlands to liberate the ports at Antwerp. So the RMR was one of the rifle companies that did the initial crossing on the Leopold Canal. If you've ever walked across the banks of the Lachine Canal, imagine something a little bit more narrow, but then you and 6-7 of your buddies had to race down there, get in a little boat, while German machine gun fire is shooting straight across the length. But then once they made it across and then got that little bridgehead, they had to keep pushing out further and further and further to try and get out. And part of the challenges was the Germans, who were not stupid, had flooded a lot of the ground, so that would force the soldiers up onto higher ground, raised roads and things like that, where they were easy targets. And a lot of the casualties were either from bullets, grenades, or mortars that were landing.
Now, it sounds horrific, but this was a victory.
It was, yes. Yeah, that's a really good point. We forget that too. If you think of the Battle of Vimy Ridge, there was 3,500 Canadians killed in a single day, and yet that was hailed as one of tremendous victories. So yes, it is a victory, but victory unfortunately comes at a tremendous price. So it probably won't come as a surprise that some of the first killed were the leaders. The two leaders of the platoons that went across, you had Sergeant Murray and Lieutenant Barclay. They're leading their men from the front. They're in the front of their boats. The machine gun fire that we talked about earlier is coming down in bursts. You're not firing on one sustained shot. So one of them got caught, Sergeant Murray, right across through the canal, and his boat got hit, and he was killed pretty much instantly. Lieutenant Barclay got his boat across the canal, but then got hit in another burst of fire. It says here, a very gallant officer and a gentleman. That's what was written officially, but the reality is the biggest contribution he made was serving as a human shield. He took a whole bunch of the bullets that would have otherwise hit his men.
And these men weren't, say, lifetime soldiers.
No, not at all.
They were called into action. They were just guys living around here in Montreal.
Yeah, a perfect example would be Private Thornycroft. He joined the RMR in May 1939, knew that war was coming. He was 18 years old. He joined the band. He worked across the street was the Harrison Brothers, which is now known as Pride of Montreal, a big bakery. He was studying at school to become an accountant. It's a tragedy. He was one of these soldiers that he'd been wounded, he'd been shot in the arm, and was making his way back to the headquarters to wait for evacuation. He was unarmed. He came across a German who shot him in cold blood.
Now, one of the parts of your exhibit here, you say it's very important because it's almost the forgotten part of the sacrifice sometimes, of the prisoners of war.
It's a key component we often forget because it's not really in the war movies you typically see. Most of the RMRs went to the same camp. Most of them went to the same Stalag, which would have been probably comforting for them because at least they would have had that camaraderie and that tightness and knowing some people. They were actually put to work in salt mines, believe it or not, and they would be working 16, 17 hours a day.
This is the list here of everyone who served in the Battle of Leopold Canal. Why is it important for us to remember this battle and remember them?
It's important for us to remember for a variety of reasons. I'd say that the primary one is that all of these men were affected, and this 80 here that you see before you were representatives of the entire Canadian war effort. These men volunteered to put themselves second and their country first.
And with this exhibit, and the focus that you're putting on the Battle of Leopold Canal this year, what do you hope people take away from it after seeing this?
I think it's important for people to understand that Remembrance and Remembrance Day is all about ordinary Canadians such as Private Thornycroft, who was a baker, who achieved the extraordinary.